Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. At large despite an arrest warrant, businessman Atong Ang is now tagged as the #1 most wanted in the Philippines. And according to the DILG, the gambling tycoon is armed and dangerous.
Dismissed DPWH District Engineer Henry Alcantara has been admitted to the government's Witness Protection Program. But his fellow BGC boys, Bryce Hernandez and JP Mendoza, fell short of criteria as state witnesses in the flood control issue.
And it's not just resigned Congressman Zaldico Malacanang wants back in the Philippines. It is urging its former public works chief to return soonest to answer allegations of involvement in anomalous infrastructure projects.
Sanay po yan sa marahas na pagharap sa mga otoridad. We consider him armed and dangerous. Justice will come to Atong Ang. Justice for the 100 missing Sabongeros. Justice for all his illegal acts. Atong, mag-surrender ka na, harapin mo ang hukom at doon ka magpaliwanag.
It's been over 30 hours since a court issued arrest warrants against suspects in the missing Sabongeros case. All but one have been brought into custody. Authorities are now stepping up the search for alleged mastermind Atong Ang, even offering a bounty for his capture. Tonight's big story from Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos.
Atong Ang has been declared the #1 most wanted in the Philippines with a 10 million peso bounty on his head, courtesy of the Interior Department. Since the Santa Cruz Laguna RTC Branch 26 issued warrants of arrest over the missing Sabongeros case, 17 of 18 subjects have been taken into custody. Only Ang is still at large.
Ang aking abiso sa kanya, Atong, mag-surrender ka na, harapin mo ang hukom at doon ka magpaliwanag. Iyong pagtatago ay simbolo ng iyong hindi pagtanggap at pag-iwas sa mga paratang laban sa iyo.
In the afternoon of January 15, operatives of NBI Laguna went to this farm. The property, allegedly owned by an unnamed politician in San Pablo City, was occasionally visited by Ang. But when NBI personnel scored the farm, the gambling tycoon was nowhere to be found. The security guard in the area told News 5 that he only knew Ang from the television reports. But he said he never saw the businessman personally, especially not in this farm. On Wednesday, January 14, or the day the arrest warrant was supposed to be served for the first time, authorities already went to Ang's farm in Santa Cruz and in Lipa, Batangas. Police even went to the Magnates-known address in Pasig City. Ang and 17 others are facing charges of kidnapping with homicide and kidnapping with serious illegal detention. What could make the businessman turn up? The 10 million peso bounty for information on his whereabouts seems like a drop in the bucket. Ang reportedly has much more means and resources than this.
Yung tatapatan niya yung 10 million, nahirap yun eh. Kasi kung tatapatan mo isa, tatapatan mo lahat. Wala po siyang nabiling mga investigator, wala siyang nabiling mga piskal, wala siyang nabiling mga huwis. Lahat po yan ay tumupad sa kanilang katungkulan at wala pong nagawa ang mga bilyon-bilyon niyang pera para maiba ang hustisya. Justice will come to Atong Ang. Justice for the 100 missing Sabongeros. Justice for all his illegal acts.
But authorities expect the search for Ang to be challenging and even turn treacherous. According to the DILG chief, Atong Ang is, quote, armed and dangerous, having already killed hundreds of people already and with lots of cash to pay for protection.
Si Atong po ay bumibiyahe ng hindi kumukulang ng 20 ang bodyguard lagi. Sanay po yan sa marahas na pagharap sa mga otoridad. Sanay po yan sa marahas na paraan para masolusyonan ang kanyang mga problema. So we consider him armed and dangerous. Pero may garantisya po kami na walang EJK. Wala pong extrajudicial killing na plano ang PNP.
The Philippine National Police has already revoked licenses of 6 guns under Ang's name. It has likewise requested the Interpol to place the businessman on red notice to guarantee his arrest in case he goes out of the country. Per the Bureau of Immigration's monitoring, Ang is still in the Philippines. For now, the manhunt is centered in Luzon.
Wala naman po siyang recent na departure sa aming record, so dapat nandito po siya.
There are information, ma'am, coming from informants namin on the ground. All of these are being validated. Marami naman pong tumutulong at naiintindihan nila.
In the event that Ang is finally arrested, the Santa Cruz Laguna PNP said they can take over his custody along with other suspects in the disappearance of several Sabongeros. The local police assures secure facilities and enough protocols for high-profile inmates to safeguard their safety.
Ito mayroon naman enough na facilities dito, jail facilities dito na kung saan sila ikukulong namin dito properly secured. Nasa standard naman ng jail facilities natin dito. Kahit pa naman high profile, meron na kami standard of procedure naman po dyan. At meron kami naman pwedeng gawing augmentation coming from other unit such as mobile force na pwedeng kasama dito.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
Meanwhile, no word yet from Julie Dondon Patidongan, the self-proclaimed whistleblower in the case of the missing Sabongeros.
But the victims' families are appealing to authorities to protect Patidongan at all cost. Patidongan, who first introduced himself as alias Totoy, had testified that the disappeared cockfighting enthusiasts could already be dead. Their remains were supposedly dumped over Taal Lake in Batangas. He directly pointed to businessman Atong Ang as the mastermind, alleging that the motive was related to cloning or cheating in e-sabong.
Actually, sila ang buhay namin dito sa magiging kaso natin. Sila yung naging pinakamalaking bagay na naibigay sa amin na may direct, hindi naman in a way direct participation kasi alam nila kung anong nangyayari. Tapos pinakamalapit na tao na empleyado ni Atong Ang. So hindi ka magdadalawang isip, talagang mataas ang batting average, precise, exact.
Patidongan has also claimed that the actual number of victims is nearly 100, not just the 34 that were officially reported. The families of the victims believe Ang is just in hiding and has yet to leave the country. They appealed to the gambling tycoon to surrender now and let justice take its course.
Kung talagang yung mga sinasabi mo at totoo, bakit ka magtatago? Lumantad ka na para sagutin mo lahat yung mga naisampa na kaso. Huwag mo nang pahirapan ang mga pamilya. Tama na yung mahigit 4 na taon na pagkukubli nyo sa mga pinaggagawa nyo sa mga pamilya namin.
I think he's still here. Medyo gumagawa lang ng buwelo yan. I'm sure kilala rin ng mga pulis sila, no? So gumagawa lang ng buwelo yan. Kung kailan siya lalabas. Gumagawa pa siya ng aksyon, baka mo contact pa dun sa mga kanyang kausap. But we are hoping na nandito pa rin siya because I know deep within him, gusto na rin niyang sumuko. So we are watching this policeman kung ano ang nagiging takbo ng aming investigation.
Let's discuss these latest developments with Ted Lazaro. He is the spokesperson for the Justice for Missing Sabongeros Network. Good evening and welcome to the Big Story, Ted.
Good evening, ladies. Good evening, Ma'am Ces. Good evening, Pauline and Ma'am Shawn.
Kayo ba ay malaki pa rin 100% ang tiwala sa CIDG, sa PNP na makukuha si Mr. Atong Ang?
Well, from the very start po, kulang po yung kumpiyansa ng mga kapamilya ng mga biktima sa ating kapulisan, especially because of the experience they've had during the previous administration. Kagaya nga po nung sinabi nila Ma'am Cha, no, na kapatid ni John Lasco, iniligaw at binaboy ang investigasyon, mga initial investigation ng kanilang nawawalang mga kamag-anakan nung simula. Kaya ngayon, sana ito yung redemption arc, no, ng PNP at ng ating pamahalaan tungkol dito sa kasong ito. Sana ma-accomplish nila yung mission na maaresto o mapasuko si Mr. Atong Ang.
Ano po ang basehan ng inyong paniniwala na nandito pa siya sa Pilipinas?
Well, wala po kaming capability to determine kung nasan si Mr. Atong Ang, no? At we believe he's a flight risk. Kaya maganda nga na yung kasong sinampa sa kanya non-bailable kasi talagang lahat siguro ng opportunities at avenues he will take advantage to get away from justice. Kagaya nga nung sinasabi namin, he can afford yung pinakamagagaling na lawyers, yung pinakamaraming lawyers for his defense. Kaya mas maganda siguro na harapin niya na lang to, sumuko na lang siya at padaliin natin yung proseso.
So ito ang apela ninyo sa kanya na sumuko?
Opo.
At sir, itong si Mr. Atong Ang ay isa lamang sa 18 akusado dito sa missing Sabongeros. Pero sa inyong opinion, may iba pa bang dapat masangkot, ibang dapat na ma-hold accountable dito sa pagkawala ng mga inyong mga kapamilya, no? Lalo na yung mga kasama dyan sa alpha list na tinatawag?
Opo, ang paniniwala po ng mga kapamilya, ng mga biktima, dapat ma-indict din yung mga personalities na nandun sa alpha list. Dahil naniniwala kami, sindikato to collegial body yung nag-decide tungkol doon sa fate o doon sa kapalaran ng mga nawawalang sabongero. Kaya nais namin sana na masusipang pag-aralan ng DOJ na masampahan din ng kaso yung mga taong nandun kasama sa alpha list. Hindi lang si Mr. Atong Ang.
Mr. Lazaro, I'm sure binabantayan niyo yung usad nitong kaso kasi yung pinag-uusapan natin, ito lang nasa Santa Cruz, di ba? So may mga ibang cases pa in other provinces, in other courts. Kamusta naman po yung usad ng mga kaso na yon?
Hindi po kasi lawyers ng mga biktima yung nag-file ng case, no? Ang DOJ na to, mga public prosecutors, kaya People of the Philippines versus yung mga akusado. As to the updates, directly ata yung mga kapamilya yung nakakakuha ng updates mula sa DOJ. Kami po sa network nandito para sumuporta do sa panawagan, sa kampanya ng pamilya para dun sa pagkuha, pagkamit po ng hustisya. Hindi po kami directly na nakikipag-usap pa itong network. Hindi po kami directly nakikipag-usap sa DOJ tungkol do sa updates. Nakantabay po kami dun sa pakikipag-usap ng mga kapamilya dun sa ahensya ng pamahalaan.
Pero grupo rin niyo po yun na nagpo-push na turingin itong kumbaga enforced disappearances yung ginawa dito sa mga missing Sabongeros since kasama yung state agents sa mga, of course, kinasuhan at nag-disappear sa kanila.
Opo. Ang pagtingin po namin dito ay bahagi ito ng kultura ng impunity sa ating bansa, no? Ang pagtingin namin dito ay yung paniniwala ng mga nasa kapangyarihan, paniniwala po ng may mga pera na makakalusot sila sa kung ano man yung gusto nilang gawin kahit lubag sa batas. So ito po ay isang litmus test para po sa administrasyon ni Presidente Bongbong Marcos kung hanggang saan madadala tong kasong ito. No? Kaugnay din po ito ng flood control projects na kung saan yung mga politiko ay naniniwala makakalusot doon sa pagnanakaw ng bilyon-bilyong pondo ng bayan. Kaya kung mapapagtagumpayan po yung pagkakamit ng hustisya dito sa nawawalang mga sabongero, naniniwala po kami na mabibigyan din po ng hustisya ang taong bayan, partikular dito sa flood control issues.
Sa bagay, kung tutuusin, Ted, ang tagal ng inintay ninyo, di ba? Itong pagkaka-issue ng arrest warrant, malaking bagay na noon ay iniisip yung medyo imposible na mangyari.
Opo, lagpas 5 taon na, no? Lagpas 5 taon, nakawalong chief PNP na. Ngayon pa lang po nakakita ng signifikanteng hakbang patungo po dito sa pag-usad ng kaso. Kaya nagpapasalamat po yung pamilya, although wala nang reason pa para mag-celebrate dahil hindi pa po nakakukuha si Mr. Atong Ang at hindi po naisama lahat ng mga taong sangkot.
Pero ang daming polis na naaresto na. They were of course previously being held na by the PNP. Pero to your point, no, na yung state agents, kumbaga naparusahan ang guilty, What are your thoughts on that? The fact that the police has managed to discipline a lot of their own?
It's a positive step, no, towards yung accountability ng mga armed services natin, lalo na yung mga public officials. It's a positive step. Pero again, nasa simula pa lang tayo ng proseso. So kung makikita natin na mapapatunayan itong guilty at liable sa batas, that would be the most concrete, no, manifestation ng kanilang hangarin na linisin yung kanilang ranks at hindi na muling magpagamit dito sa mga taong to na kagaya ni Mr. Atong Ang.
Nabanggit nyo nga, sir, mahigit 5 taon na itong kaso ng missing sabungeros. But over the past few months, meron ba kayong mga nakuha ring ebidensya na nagpatibay palalo dito sa kaso laban kila Mr. Atong Ang, pati ilang mga state agents?
Well, hindi kami yung nangangalap nung ebidensya. No? May mga evidences na hawak yung pamilya na na-submit na initially dun sa ating kapulisan. Isang particular situation is yung nakita nung kapatid ni John Lasco, isa doon sa mga biktima, kay Ma'am Charlene Biligan, yung videos na hawak ni Dondon Patidongan nung ini-interrogate supposedly itong si Mr. John Lasco ng mga tao nung sabungan, no, at pinapaamin siya tungkol do sa cloning issue. Doon nakita do sa video na yun na nakapiring siya at nakagapos.
Mr. Lazaro, sino po itong isa pang konsehal supposedly na magsasampa ng kaso laban dito sa mga akusado? Is it the same accused? Are you at liberty to tell us more about that?
We're not connected with him, no, pero apparently may threat din sa kanya at he was a previous business partner, I think, business associate, dyan din sa Sabong.
Would you know if he corroborates largely the story of the victims' families?
Hindi po, wala pa po kaming alam, wala pa po kaming idea doon sa kanyang statements.
Nasabi nyo na malaki ang kumpiyansa nyo sa gobyerno, ngunit alam din natin na yung tentacles ng influence ni Atong Ang ay malalim. At sinabi na nga ni Julie Patidong na pati justice system, pati judiciary ay meron siyang mga kumbaga kakampi. So hindi po ba kayo kinakabahan na while you have made this first step na baka hindi umusad hanggang dulo?
Well, we're determined to see this case through. We must be vigilant do sa mga pwedeng mangyari, no? Expectedly, gagamitin ni Mr. Atong Ang yung kanyang powers nga para makalusot dito. Pero tingin ko yung taong bayan mismo, yung nagbabantay ngayon kasama namin para may hatid yung justisya para din sa mga kapamilyang ng biktima. Doon sa kinakabahan, kabado po kami everyday. Kabado po kami everyday kung makukuha nga ba yung panalo para dito sa katarungan. Makita ba namin sa finish line na nabigyan ng satisfaction at magkaroon ng closure tong mga kapamilya ng nawawalang mga sabungero. So yun po, marami pong agam-agam pero wala pong ibang choice kundi tumindig at lumaban eh. So haharapin namin yung laban na ito, bagamat simula pa lamang at mananatili po kami nakabantay, no, doon sa magiging resulta.
At saka sinabi na nga ni DILG Secretary Remulla na he could be armed and dangerous. Ganun din ba ang paniniwala ninyo na he could, the violence may ensue kung siya ay arestuhin?
Well, he could be that desperate, no? He could resort to that. Pero yun nga yung mula sa bibig ng mga kamag-anakan, sindikato to eh. Wala sigurong limit sa po pwedeng mangyari at po pwedeng gawin. Kaya nga, yung mismong mga ahente ng ating pamahalaan, kailangan mag-ingat at i-assume yung worst at maging prepared sila. No? Hindi naman kami yung manghuhuli kay Mr. Atong Ang, pero ganun pa man, pinapanalangin namin yung kaligtasan ng lahat.
Tapos kayo namang mga kamag-anakan, hindi naman nakakatanggap ng threats o anuman sa pagbabantay ng kasong ito?
Recently, wala naman po, no? Recently, wala naman po. Yung mga kamag-anakan po, I think may kumausap before nung SONA ng 2025. Iba yung gustong direksyon na mangyari. Ang gustong mangyari ay si Mr. Dondon patidongan ang kasuhan. No? Iba pa po yung usapan ng areglo dahil kagaya nung sinabi ni Mr. Dondon, 104 daw po yung supposedly victims ng forced disappearances na right now nasa 34 individuals na lang o 36 families yung kasama namin dito sa laban na ito. So batay sa mga kwento ng mga kapamilya, may mga umatras na dahil may kumausap.
At habang nawawala nga at hinahanap si Atong Ang, Mr. Lazaro, ano po yung pinagkakaabalahan ng inyong grupo right now? What's next on your agenda?
Well, tomorrow, may ina-arrange atang press con yung mga kamag-anakan, no? With their lead. Kasi sometimes yung network yung nag-arrange, bukas particularly, yung families po yung nag-arrange ata ng isang press con. Yung sa network po, patuloy po kami nangangalap ng suporta, patuloy po kaming nananawagan sa publiko, kasi mahirap pong mawala ito sa public discourse. Makalimutan po natin yung nangyari dahil diwa po nung bayan natin nakasalalay dito kung matatalo po yung laban na ito. No? Yung panawagan para sa katarungan, hindi lamang po para to sa mga kapamilya ng mga nawawalang sabongero. Para po to dun sa lahat ng biktima ng enforced disappearances, state violence, at yung iba pa pong pagmamalabis at pang-abuso sa taong bayan.
Nabanggit nyo nga, sir, din na mahirap itong pinagdadaanan ng mga kamag-anak ng mga biktima dahil walang closure. So ano po ba ang itsura ng hustisya para sa mga pamilya ngayon ng mga missing sabongeros?
Ang inaasahan namin, no, sa awa ng Diyos, sana mapanagot, mapakulong. No? Mabigay yung dapat na parusa dito sa mga sangkot, particularly yung mga state agents, yung mga police na nagpagamit doon sa masterminds. Matigil yung kultura dito sa ating bayan na yung nasa pwesto nga at na may kapangyarihan, kayang tapak-tapakan yung karapatan ng mga mamayan. So yung kagustuhan namin sa pangkalahatan maging accountable itong mga taong nasa pinagkakatiwalaan ng taong bayan natin na supposedly maglilingkod sa ating interes.
Maraming pong salamat sa inyong panahon. Thank you for talking to us here on The Big Story. Justice for Missing Sabongeros Network spokesperson Ted Lazaro.
We're just gonna take a quick break, but coming up, disgraced engineer Henry Alcantara and 3 others are now under the state's Witness Protection Program. But the rest of the so-called BGC boys failed to qualify to the WPP. The details of that story are next. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. 4 people linked to the flood control scandal have been officially admitted as state witnesses. According to Prosecutor General Richard Fadulion, these are former Public Works Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo, former Bulacan District Engineer Henry Alcantara, former DPWH NCR Director Gerard Opulencia, and contractor Sally Santos. Justice Secretary Frederick Vida said the 4 have agreed to help with the investigation and prosecution of cases related to anomalous infrastructure projects. They are also effectively included in the Witness Protection Program after partially returning money. The restitution from DPWH infrastructure projects total 316 million pesos to date. Vida clarified, however, that admission into the Witness Protection Program does not automatically spare the 4 from all criminal liability. Vida explains that state witnesses are only discharged from criminal liability in cases where they have provided evidence that can be used by the prosecution.
Isa po sa karapatan ng mga state witnesses na ina-admit po sa programa is to be discharged from criminal liability. So yun po yun. Doon po sa particular na kaso na tinutulungan namin sila, ha?
Opo.
Yung tinutulungan nila kami. No? Yung sa mga kasong sila'y nagbigay ng ebidensya na magagamit ng Estado, doon po sila drop. Panuntunan po ng Witness Protection Program, pag kailangan namin ang iyong testimonya para mapalakas pa ang kaso, diba? Ng Estado para manalo tayo dito sa ating pinaglalabang kaso, pwede kang makuha. Natulong sa Estado. At yung nagko-cooperate ka, kaya may MOA, may terms and conditions.
Other members of the so-called BGC boys, Bryce Hernandez and JP Mendoza, were not included in the list. Fadulyon simply noted the DOJ does not see the need to include them in the WPP for now. He likewise reiterated that the
parang lumalapit, no, para matanggap bilang mga testigo ng Estado. Pero hindi po ito nangangahulugan na if pagdating po ng when the future comes at meron pong kaso na maari silang tumistigo, maari pa rin namin pong ikonsidera ang kung ano man ang kanilang ebidensya na ilalahad sa amin.
Meantime, Malacanang is going all out in its bid to get former Congressman Zaldico to return to the Philippines. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the goal is to get Co to face our courts and answer for the billions spent on ghost and substandard flood control projects. The Marcos administration is said to be exhausting all legal means to bring Co back home. Right now, they are in talks with the Interpol and the government of Portugal, where Co is reportedly hiding. But the palace seemed reserved when it came to former Public Works Secretary Manny Bonoan. Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Ping Lacson earlier said Bonoan deliberately submitted wrong grid coordinates of flood control projects to President Marcos. And this resulted in mismatched data across more than 400 inspected projects in the country, which Lacson believes might have been part of a cover-up scheme.
Mahirap pong i-generalize. Dapat specific po tayo kung anong project yung sinasabi. Very general po yung sinasabi natin ngayon. Hindi ko po mako-confirm. So, kailangan po natin i-verify yung mga ibang sinasabi ni Senator Lacson. But I cannot speak for former Secretary Bonoan. So, hindi ko po alam kung anong mga sinabi niya at kung anong pinangako niya. At kailangan lang po siya talaga makabalik sa Pilipinas.
For Ombudsman Boying Remulla, Bonoan should have already been deported since he is now overstaying in the United States. The resigned DPWH chief left for the U.S. in late November of 2025, and Remulla warned of the Trump administration's strict immigration laws.
Monitor tayo ng U.S. Embassy o ng American na State Department. Overstaying na si Manny Bonoan. They can actually deport him already. Kahit nag-apply siya ng extension of stay, pag hindi ginagrant yan, technically, pwede siya pong sipain pa uwi rito. US State Department. ICE. Tsaka yung ICE. Nung tinitingnan namin yung 421 ghosts, marami talagang improbable. Kaya, alam namin, nanggaling rin sa, sa 1st District Bulacan yung coordinates na binago.
And later, 1st District Congressman Martin Romualdez denies knowing and dealing with contractor couple Curly and Sara Diskaya. Through his lawyer, Ade Fajardo, Romualdez rebuffed allegations of using the Diskayas as a front, nor any involvement with them. This denial comes ahead of the resumption on January 19 of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee inquiry on the flood control scandal. Committee Chair Senator Ping Lacson earlier revealed information that the former House Speaker bought an expensive property in Makati through the Diskayas. Fajardo said Curly Diskaya had already stated on public record that he never dealt with Romualdez. It is not clear if Romualdez will attend next week's hearing to answer the committee's questions himself.
Representative Romualdez has no knowledge nor involvement in the purported transaction. Representative Romualdez has not met the Discayas and has only heard of them based on what is being said in the media. As such, the claim in the report about using the Discayas as a front in a property purchase is outright baseless. Let us be reminded that allegations cannot override testimony given under oath. Facts cannot be replaced by speculation. Only evidence does. End of quote. Representative Martin Romualdez respects institutional processes and is confident that any fair and evidence-based inquiry will ultimately prove him right.
And here are the other stories making headlines this Thursday. The first storm of the Philippines this year has intensified into a tropical storm as it moves closer to the coast of Surigao del Norte. As of 5 p.m., T.S. Ada was spotted 400 kilometers east of Surigao City, packing wind speeds of 65 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 80 kph. According to Pagasa, Ada may pass close to eastern Samar and northern Samar by Saturday and Catanduanes by Sunday. Landfall is possible over eastern Visayas and the Bicol region if the cyclone moves further westward. Pagasa has raised signal number 1 in more provinces, 4 in Luzon, 6 in the Visayas, and 3 in Mindanao. Meantime, Albay is bracing for the onslaught of Tropical Storm Ada as Mayon volcano remains on alert level 3. Albay Governor Noel Rosal told 1PH's One Balita Pilipinas that over 10,000 families could be evacuated due to possible lahar flow. But that would depend on the intensity of the cyclone when it hits Bicol this weekend. Rosal explained that the danger posed by lahar would force authorities to evacuate residents within a 10-kilometer danger zone. They will be sheltered in different schools, separate from residents already evacuated due to the volcano's eruption.
And in another development, Executive Secretary Ralph Recto and former PhilHealth President Emmanuel Ledesma Jr. are facing fresh complaints of technical malversation, graft, plunder, and grave misconduct. This stems from the controversial transfer of excess PhilHealth funds worth 60 billion pesos to the National Treasury. That was during Recto's time as Finance Secretary, and a move that the Supreme Court recently declared as unconstitutional. A group of medical doctors and lawyers filed the complaints this morning before the Office of the Ombudsman. But in a statement, Recto maintained his innocence, saying he acted in good faith. And in world news, the U.S. State Department has suspended immigrant visa processing for citizens of 75 countries, sparing the Philippines. That's according to Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Babes Romualdez, in an interview with PhilStar.com. The freeze, which applies only to immigrant visas for permanent residency, covers nations that include Afghanistan, Iran, Russia, and Somalia. The suspension will take effect on January 21st, with the U.S. State Department clarifying that business and tourist visas are not affected.
And in business news, the peso hit another record low this Thursday, January 15, closing at 59.46 to a dollar. The local unit touched an intraday best of 59.35 and an intraday worst of 59.47. A variety of factors is at play for the peso's continued weakness. Jape Tantiangco of PhilStocks Financial cites expectations of a negative balance of payments position for the Philippines this year and another domestic rate cut on the horizon. As for Mike Ricafort of RCBC, he notes that the greenback has hit a one-month high against the Japanese yen over the prospects of a snap elections come February.
In other news, PLDT and SMART, in partnership with government agencies, are boosting digital access across the Philippines. That's through education programs, disaster preparedness training, and online safety campaigns. Mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho has this story.
For more than 2 decades, PLDT and SMART have helped build communities, working with government and private partners to expand digital access and strengthen public services across the country. Leaders from various agencies recently came together, marking a new chapter for the PLDT and SMART Communities program and highlighting how connectivity and innovation drive nation building.
Reaching out to other communities is all about heart. And every time you do something with your heart or you do something for someone else, there's nothing that's hard.
Anchored on the PLDT and SMART Communities program, these partnerships bring technology where it is needed most, supporting education, livelihoods, disaster preparedness, and digital inclusion. In education alone, one key initiative is the CVIF Dynamic Learning Program, launched in Sarangani in 2017, where nearly half of enrollees are indigenous peoples. Designed to be simple and effective, the program uses concise, contextualized learning materials.
Itong learning activity sheets na kasama ng Dynamic Learning Program ay nakakatulong when it comes to contextualization. Ang learning activity sheets kasi very concise. In a sheet of paper, makikita mo na doon sa concept digest kung anong competency ang gusto mong ituro sa isang bata.
Beyond education, disaster preparedness is also a key priority. Working with the Office of Civil Defense and local disaster risk reduction offices, more than 44,000 individuals have been trained with 61 ligtas kits deployed across the country. During calamities, services such as libreng tawag, libreng charging, and libreng Wi-Fi help communities stay connected when it matters most. PLDT and SMART also work with the Department of Justice and the Interagency Council Against Trafficking for the #BeCyberSmart campaign, reaching more than 125,000 individuals on child online protection and responsible digital citizenship. Looking ahead, PLDT and SMART plan to further expand connectivity, including state universities, as part of their commitment to inclusive digital access.
We're going to be moving and working with the government to be able to put connectivity in the state universities. The private universities, I think they're rich enough to put connectivity, but state universities and eventually the different, the lower schools, right, to put connectivity. But we don't stop there.
Kapatid Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
This is the big story on One News, and in a bit, we'll find out how Philippine textile can help support climate action and generate jobs for communities. Sustainability is next. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the big story. Did you know that every January, the Philippines celebrates the Philippine Tropical Fabrics Month? Proclamation 313, signed in 2012, advances the use of Philippine tropical fabrics, or PTFs, made from the fibers of pineapple leaves, abaca, bamboo, and more. PTFs are not only environment-friendly but also a source of livelihood for weavers, and it's also a platform to showcase our heritage. Recently, PTFs have been featured in the Laro ng Lahi collection by designer Abel Bacudio, which Filipino athletes wore during the 33rd SEA Games in Thailand. Bacudio used the high-premium textile for its feather-light and resilient qualities. It's time to put the spotlight on sustainable initiatives, one story at a time. Welcome to Sustainability. And returning to our set this evening is Dr. Julius Leaño Jr., Director of the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Textile Research Institute, or DOSTPTRI. That's a lot of letters.
Yes. Yes, a mouthful.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Good evening.
Now, you know, I was surprised to find out that actually the contribution of the textile industry to greenhouse gas emissions is 8 to 10% higher
terrible. Yes.
than aviation
Yes.
and maritime
Yes.
industry of
Yes.
5.5 to 6.
Yes, exactly.
Talo pa ng tela ang
including the fashion industry.
Right.
So it's huge contributor
Yeah.
to greenhouse emissions.
So
yes.
tell us what you're doing to mitigate, to lessen, and I hope this will become, a global Philippine offering to the globe.
Yes,
No?
exactly. So the materials used for all of these fabrics, especially mainstream fabrics, has always been consumed a lot of water and has left a lot of carbon footprint. So what we're trying to do is to substitute every single possible kilogram of material with something that we have locally, and sana hindi na yung tinatanim. I mean, you don't have to cultivate it, but actually rather already there. So we're looking at agricultural byproducts, pineapple and banana in particular.
Meaning crops that we already plant.
Yes, it's already just there. It's left in the farm after getting the high-valued fruits, for example, which, by the way, we discovered that when you get the fibers, actually the fibers have better value proposition than the fruit itself. So, you're hitting two birds with one stone. So that's the value proposition, that's the sustainability proposition that we have for Philippine tropical fabrics and Philippine textiles.
Can you explain how do you take out the fiber from the mga dahon and the waste? And that process, is it complicated and expensive?
It's a straightforward process. It actually happens on the farms. So you don't have to transport the leaves, because if you transport the leaves or maybe the pseudostem of the trunk of the banana, you're technically transporting water. So what we advocate is to do it on the farm itself. So just immediately. So the process is simply just removing, it's decortication. You remove the cortex of the fiber of the leaves. It's basically the covering, the green covering. So when you remove it, you liberate the fiber. Also for banana in particular. So it's also decortication, you liberate it as well. Abaca is quite different, but it's very similar. You still liberate the fibers. Very similar the way you do it for banana. So it's pulling it out, and a very mechanical process.
So the farmers can also do this?
The farmers can do it, yes. It's not energy intensive. The machines are very simple. It can be locally fabricated. It can even be brought into the middle of the farm. It can also be solar powered. So all of these are innovations in order for us to liberate the fibers, the much valued fibers from these agricultural byproducts.
They will earn more money from this than from the
Yes.
actual fruit, like saging, pinya, mura lang kasi, lalo na pag in season.
Yes. The farm gate price, for example, of banana, maybe it has changed. It's like 13 pesos to 20 pesos per kilo. But the price of a fiber that will come out from the farm is about 300 pesos per kilo. So it's a no-brainer. So farmers definitely could add it up. Of course, we still prefer the banana. It's still an export material. But the fibers are emerging materials as well from the farm.
Kahit yung Cavendish.
Cavendish, Tababa, Bongholan, etc. Although we have screened about 19 varieties of banana, and they all give us exquisite fibers.
Okay. You've brought some as
materials.
samples. Yeah, but how can we scale it up pa? Because right now,
very limited.
Yes,
very limited. Well, number one is the access to the farms. A lot of the farms are still small management, very remote, quite away, quite far from the main thoroughfares. So it takes a lot of effort to bring them down. So the same problem of the abaca industry is also the one plaguing, for example, the banana and the pineapple byproducts. It takes a lot of movement, and when you move, that's another source of carbon footprint. So what we do is to locate. But when you locate, you're out of the grid, power is a challenge. So we try to transition at the same time to solar power and solar energy. So all of these are compounded, but definitely, yes, that's where science and technology come in. We have to scale it up. Otherwise, the prices would be very restrictive, very restrictive. And we'll talk about tons rather than talk about few kilograms.
Okay, so I'm reaching out for the fabrics. Kasi ang gaganda. Tell us what
this one is Philippine silk. Of course, not a lot of us know that we have silk in the Philippines. This one was, I think, reared and produced and woven in Misamis Oriental. That's the northern part of Mindanao. And
so are those from worms too?
Yes, they are. And they were dyed with yellow ginger. That's why the vibrant yellow color. So it's antimicrobial by itself.
So, oo nga, no?
Yes.
Oo, so...
No molds, even.
How aside from the reduction of our carbon footprint, paano pa nakaka-contribute ang tropical fibers to climate action?
Well, it prepares our communities as well, because as you transition, you also transition not just in production, but also in the sources of energy. So energy is also a huge contributor to the greenhouse emissions of the textile industry. So that transition from fossil fuel based to maybe solar is a huge step. And I think transitioning in industry doesn't only mean that you'll use it in the plants, but also use it in your community. So that by itself is also very inclusive. So you don't want to put up a solar farm and only for the machines, right? You put it up for the community. So that's one huge transition.
So ilan
as
ang
well.
may ganyan?
We have those already plotted in the Negros Island. There are partners that we have there who has a transition to solar powered, and hopefully we keep on multiplying them and substitute the fossil fuel based decorticating machines.
So there's only one?
One company or two units I think that's already deployed in the middle of the farm because you don't have electricity there. That hopefully it will get multiplied. The idea there really is to demonstrate that it's doable, and then scale it up eventually.
How many case studies or test cases, use cases do you have around the Philippines now in the creation of these fibers?
Well, definitely it's as much as how many fibers do we have. So, like I mentioned earlier about banana, abaca, bamboo was also included. The fabric over there is cotton
Saluyot,
and bamboo.
diba, you said?
Saluyot is the one I'm wearing now.
What? This is saluyot?
Yes. You can see the brown color, right?
Oh, wow, ang
So the saluyot with silk.
Can we close up on Pakipakita natin yung abs ni Doc.
Yeah. So saluyot, it can rival pineapple. So those are the propositions that we have. Again, saluyot is not also as massively cultivated, but the bottom line is you keep on discovering new fibers. Hyacinth is also another proposition.
Let's say I'm a maker. I'm a designer. I want to order. Kaya ba? Meron
Kaya,
ba?
yes. That's
May
exactly why we are here now, because we're a little bit more confident because the private sector has taken it on. So maybe we're not yet talking about tons of fabric, but definitely in the order of thousands of fabric can already be ordered. Pwede na. Yeah, so if you're getting to a small scale, prototyping, sort of like micro collection of sort, I think pwede naman na siya.
And also, the yardage, the size, the diameter is the same as...
It's 60 width. It's 60 width, so like a blouse would only be just about 1.5, depending on, of course, the cut. So that's basically
Kasi
doable.
dati yung mga small scale, iba-iba yung size.
Iba-iba. So 60, kasi minimum yan for the industry. And then they could do it in, of course, different colors as you would want it to be. But still, the handloom movement, which are the ones you're using or seeing now, are still heavily done in the communities. That one, for example, is pure cotton from and dyed with indigo. Indigo is a local plant as well. It's in a blue shade. So we did this with, I think this was done with Patnongon in Antique. Yeah.
What's this thread?
That's the blend of cotton and pineapple. Okay? So hindi mo makikita na yung pineapple, di ba? So that's exactly where the science comes. It looks like magic, but technically you cannot see where the cotton or the pineapple. But when you dye them, then you'll see the streaks now of the pineapple coming out, because as I mentioned earlier, the absorption of the dyes would be very different.
And that's beautiful. That's the beauty of it.
Yes. The imperfection, the neps, things that we normally shy away.
Brown
This one, you can see it here. This is bamboo. So you can see the bamboo fibers literally in the fabric.
Okay.
Right?
When you process the bamboo fiber, walang damage to the environment, walang ano. I understand that sometimes the processing can be
the bamboo processing, especially those that we know of, the rate is highly chemical based. However, the one we're doing here is literally you can see the bamboo deconstructed. It's just
so it's not, no chemicals are used.
The chemical is only the base, and a base, of course, can always be neutralized by simply adding water. So it's less hazardous, of course, than the regenerating the bamboo. So it's the same process that we use for banana and abaca anyway. So it's less compromised.
And it's not just clothes. Let me also highlight
this
shoe over here.
Yes. Yeah, we also work with, it transitions because, textiles are also part of the wearables industry. So we transition as well. So
Teka, what is this again?
This is cotton and bamboo.
Bamboo.
So, these methods, Doc, are they patented?
Yes.
Are they uniquely Filipino? Is it our invention?
We patented it already. The patents are in the blending of the yarns. So the composition of 3 blends, meaning you have a base fabric, a base yarn, and then you have your natural fiber, and maybe a third yarn, which you would have the elastics, etc. That's already a patented technology.
But the cotton is imported.
The cotton is locally produced.
Okay.
Yes. We have cotton production already in Ilocos region. We have in Panay. Albay, we have in Negros, we have in the middle of Mindanao, Sarangani area, and even Zamboanga. So nagsisimula ang mag-rebound din yung ating mga farms.
Tapos yan yung cotton na dati natin.
Yes, that's
it's endemic to the Philippines.
Yes, that's the cotton that we used to plant.
May incentives ba for the farmers who might want to diversify into these other related businesses?
Well, they are part of the bigger supply and value chain, so they can be accessed as well. So in government procurement, for example, because uniforms are for example, for government procurement, if you buy from a local manufacturer, they get some tax incentives or holidays of
It
sorts.
should be mandated.
It is part of policy. It's part of policy. Yeah.
Is this natural dye?
No, not yet, but this is pure cotton at the very least.
Doc, what about introducing or sharing it with the world? We
With the
saw it
world.
in the SEA Games, right? Yung
Yeah.
Piñavel,
Yes.
our athletes wearing it, also the design of Avel Bacudio. But in terms of scaling it, also introducing it to the world, the
yeah.
beautiful fabrics that we have, what are some
We keep
of
on
your
doing it.
plans?
Actually, we have engaged the Office of Cultural Diplomacy of the DFA. It starts from creating awareness, among within among the Filipino community. That's one, and then of course there's interest through the foreign trade missions as well, which we also do extensively with the Department of Trade and Industry. So all of these are part of the efforts in getting it out. Yes, there's a client base out there, particularly the Scandinavian countries. They'd not be so concerned about protruding fibers, so that's our heaven. So even if you bring socks to them and they'll be protruding bamboo fibers, that would be okay. So different markets would definitely prefer it, especially those that are used and are exposed to wool, for example. It behaves like wool.
How much is the reduction in carbon
Emission.
Yeah.
Every single kilo that we pluck out from the yarn. For example, if you have a yarn that's say 1 kilo, 1 kilogram of yarn of pure cotton, that normally would take about 9,000 kilograms of carbon footprint. That's about 20,000 liters of water. So every single gram that you pluck out from it using pineapple, of course, it's not carbon neutral, but at least it's lower than the one with cotton.
Do we have a target, though?
We have a target, but it's limited by the capacity of our machines. We cannot go too high as far as substituting cotton with pineapple. However, there's a different route, which we are also pursuing in the laboratories right now. Hopefully, it will be out by about 2 or 3 years. It's really regenerating it, but it's a more eco-friendly approach to producing 100% abaca yarns or 100% pineapple yarns. And we can really authenticate that, yes, this is pineapple, this is abaca, yes.
Well,
Hopefully.
Doc, I'm afraid we're running out of time, but tell us about some of your initiatives. I know we're celebrating Philippine Tropical Fabrics this month. So what events do you have lined up?
Well, a lot of events definitely this month, and we are culminating it on the 27th to the 29th at the Philippine International Convention Center. This is our Telecon, or the National Textile Convention, which actually gets together or puts together all of these efforts and all the stakeholders to talk about issues such as the carbon economy, issues such as upcycling of textiles, even its impact to human security and defense. So all of these are attendant issues to the textile industry, which I think are crucial in pushing the agenda of the Philippine tropical fabrics, not just here, but hopefully all over the world.
Well, we thank you for this. It should be every month.
All year round.
We thank you so
Thank you
much
very
for
much.
your time, DOST-PTRI Director Julius Leaño.
And on that note, that's it for the big story this Thursday. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. and we'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.